Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Front Talk with Omob. Um, if you bear with me a second, I just want to share this so that people in other platforms can join in. And you can also share with your friends so that we have a lot more people benefiting from this session. Thank you very much for that. So we've got two questions that we're going to be dealing with tonight. Both of them are things that as married women, we must have come across. And I found them to be things that even if you're not experiencing it now, you're likely to have a friend who can benefit from this. So this is the first question. Ma, I am less than 6 months in marriage. My hubby does not mind romping all day long. Sometimes I have to beg and beg to be excused. At other times, I have to pretend to be sick or look for other reasons just to get him off me. Most times, when I allow him to have his way, I just have to endure the pains. It's not because he is harsh about it, but because I would rather not do the do. I don't want him to complain about being denied or being sex starved. I would love to know if I'm just being weird or if I need medical attention. The lady that sent this to me, I first want to tell you that, well done. Thank you for opening up regarding this. A lot of women find it difficult to talk about their sexuality. They find it difficult to express concerns about sex in marriage. And it is one issue that if you don't address it, it's never going to go away. If you sweep it under the carpet, he's going to haunt you. So I think it's worthy of appreciation that and celebration actually that you've chosen to discuss this and to ask for help. You've been married for a few months, and I must say that you're not different from a lot of couples. Most couples don't hit the ground running when it comes to sex, when it comes to bedroom matters. Most especially if they're the ones who have kept themselves before marriage. The ones who have been involved in sexual activity before marriage, they just do the usual on their wedding night and, they sort of continue with what they're used to or what they've been used to. If you've kept yourself in the process of courtship and doing the courtship, you find out that you have to discover the man that you've got married to, and he has to discover you as well. Unfortunately, this can be a bit of a task, most especially if both of you are not patient or one side is not patient. Now, I know you personally because you've sent me this message and we've had a bit of a discussion. So I'm aware that you kept yourself, and I should commend you for that. So the two people that we need to deal with in this instance, we need to deal with you, and I'll be addressing you first, and then I'll be addressing your husband shortly afterwards. Like most sisters who have preserved themselves in courtship, we actually switched off. The sexual desire in us, it's still there, but we try to suppress it and we actually push it down because we don't want it to affect us. We don't want to dwell on it. We don't want to be pushed to sin, so to speak. And in Christendom, a lot of us don't like to talk about our sexual desires before marriage. By God's grace, we have a few forums that Precious Jewels run. And on some of these forums, we've got people who are well over the age of 30, 35, and who have got their hormones running, really, really running. And a lot of times our sisters come and they speak up and they say things like, I really feel like I want a man's touch and things like that. If you said that in church, people will look at you like, are you weird? Are you holy? Is there something wrong with you? So if you've been in this group or you've been subdued that far and for that long, talking about sex is something that is really weird. And most of us just want to ignore it. In fact, people tell you when you feel the urge for sex, you should go and pray in the spirit. Yes, I say pray in the spirit. I say read your Bible. I say pray. I say call, nice sisters that you can talk to. All of these things are things that you can do. But then suddenly you get married, and from your wedding night, everybody expects you to be an expert in sex. And I think that is what is causing the major problem here. So, how are we going to take this forward? You need to switch yourself on slowly. Remember, it's taking you probably from the age of 14 that you realize that you can actually have sex and you have a body that a man desires. And you got married, probably close to 35. And suddenly you are expected to be perfect with sex. You have no experience. No, don't do that to yourself. And don't be too harsh on yourself. And don't be judgmental. You need to switch yourself on slowly. You need to remind yourself that you are now taking part in an act that is permissible under God, and you have every right to do it. You have every right to enjoy it. I say to people who are close to me, I say, when I got married, I had to keep looking at my wedding ring to say, okay, all right, oh, come on, I can do this now. Actually, this is okay. I had to remind myself about that. It didn't make me a pro from day one. I had to learn on the job. Now, you need to plan and prepare for sex. You see, the message you sent to me portrayed that you said he's the one that's always asking. He's the one that's always saying he wants it. Maybe you need to try and prepare your mind that he would always ask. At times when you condition your mind that, okay, this is coming now, it's easier for you to deal with. Don't be surprised at his request for sex because that is normal in marriage. You're not going to do him a favor. You're not going to do him a task. It is just what is expected. And most married women will tell you that they do this about 3 to 4 times a week. Yes, it's that weird, but it's that interesting. And if you're not having something that is regular, a regular pattern, something that is agreeable to the two of you, we should be worried. So remember that hobby will not only ask for sex when you feel like, there are times when you won't, and he will still ask, and he expects you to be ready. That doesn't mean you should always do it. It just means that you should expect it to come. So now, maybe you should shout hallelujah. I was watching something a while ago, and a particular gentleman was saying, come on, get on with it. You should even be grateful that he's asking. No, we don't have that attitude towards sex in a Christian marriage. It is something that we enjoy. It's something that we talk about. It's something that we are happy when our husband asks us. He's not doing us a favor by asking for sex, for goodness sake. So there's nothing like, come on, get on and do it because you should expect him anyway. How about if he walks out of the house? That should never be a threat for a woman to give into sex. If a man is doing that to you, he's becoming manipulative and he may be abusing you psychologically by threatening you that he's going to go out. That means whether you give him sex or not, he's still going to go out anyway. Now, you need to work on yourself. As I said, you need to plan, you need to prepare. Prepare means that from the morning, start to tell yourself, it's likely that my husband is going to want sex tonight. And when you start preparing your mind that way, it is easy for you to tune your mind towards it. And most likely, he will get what both of you want that night. Find out why you feel the way you do about sex. I thought to look at some of the reasons why some women do not want sex, or they do not like sex, or they do not enjoy sex, or they do not reach orgasm. I will not be covering everything tonight, but I will be covering some of them. One of the common reasons is because of past abuse. Abuse is a very common problem. I'm from an African origin, and I can tell you quite clearly that a lot of ladies were abused when they were young, and it's still going on nowadays. They're abused by relatives, they're abused by trusted people. Some of them were abused by their parents, uncles, house help, cousins who are living in. And because of that, their mind, they've got a warped perception, a very sad perception of what sexual intercourse is supposed to be. So because of that, they don't want anybody to touch them. They don't want anybody to move near them. And at times, even sexual contact brings back the memory of things that have been suppressed for many years. So look within yourself and see if there's any one of these. And if there is any, then there are things that, can be dealt with. And I can refer you to somebody or people who can talk to you about that. Now, some sisters have taken part in premarital sex. Even though they did it, it was with consent, that was what they wanted, and they took part in premarital sex. Unfortunately, when you do that and you have the Spirit of God in you, He will make you realize the fact that you've done something wrong. And when you've done that for long enough, you're persistently living in guilt about sexual intercourse. And when you now get married, that guilt is still sitting inside of you, and it makes you feel as though you're doing something wrong, and that can affect your relationship. So, if you're married, well, we believe that all things have passed away. You just have to forgive yourself for what you did at that time. And you have to ask God to help you to forgive yourself, and that you can give yourself wholly to your husband. I decided to talk about medical problems because this sister who sent me this question has asked, is there if there was anything wrong with them or they were just being weird? Now, medical problems are real, and there is something that is called being frigid. What that means is that you lack the ability to enjoy sex, you have lack the ability to relax during sex, and you probably lack the ability to have an orgasm. I'll talk about the common medical problems. The number one is if you have some hormones within your body and they're not sufficient. For instance, your thyroid hormone. Your thyroid hormone it affects the running of your body. It affects a lot more than you know. So generally, things just go really low. You're not interested in anything. You're not interested in life. Your mood itself is low. You have no energy for anything. If you're feeling that way and you feel that you don't have any urge for sex, you need to get to see a doctor. They'll be able to check your thyroid. Another thing to consider is if you're depressed, if your mood is very low, you have no interest in life, you can't find things that are normally funny, you can't find them funny, you feel as though you shouldn't be here, you feel as though you're a failure. All of these things are things that somebody who is depressed can feel. And one of the things that is affected with depression is low libido. You don't feel like sex at all. So that's another thing to think about. Medications. If you're on some medications that can affect your libido, if there is stress, if you're stressed at work, if you have financial stresses, other issues, perception of your body. Some people don't like their body. They don't want anybody touching their body. They don't want anybody seeing their body. Now, you've been married for less than 6 months. You're probably not used to somebody looking at your body yet. So you need to get used to that. You need to stand in front of the mirror, admire yourself, look at the lovely features that you have. There's nothing wrong about that. I know a lot of women, they tend to close the shutters, turn off the lights before they have sexual intercourse. It's not such a thing as that. It is something that you're supposed to look at your husband's face, and you're supposed to release yourself to him willingly. If you don't like something about yourself, you're likely to not allow somebody to have access to it. Now, there's quite a lot of other things that I've mentioned there, but if you feel like you don't really want to have sex all the time, like the sister here, you need to get help. Fear of pregnancy is another reason why a lot of women don't want to have sex. There's so many options for family planning and contraception these days that you can actually get help. In the past, we've done talks about this on my group, Thy Precious Jewels. And I believe that most women will have access to this easily these days. Use of condom. You're not only worried about getting pregnant, you're actually using condom. For somebody who doesn't really have a lot of experience, you don't know what is normal, you don't know what is not normal. A lot of women find the use of condom to be irritating, and most of the time they don't want penetration to be for too long. So get lubricants and make sure that the lubricants you get is suitable for the kind of condom that you're going to be wearing. If you know you're not ready to get pregnant, come on, go and speak to a doctor about getting proper family planning that is suitable for you, so the condom doesn't even have to come in at all. For goodness sake, you're having sex with your husband, and there shouldn't be any risk of sexual infection. Fear and anticipation of pain leads to tight contraction of the pelvic floor. Every woman has a pelvic floor, and this is what we have sex with. So most of the time we think that it's just a penetration from the outside. No, it actually goes deeper than that. When you go into fear because you're worried what the pain you're going to get, your muscles go tense, and it's even more difficult for your husband to have access. And that sort of, goes on and on. Now I'm going to talk about the partner's technique. I think one of the challenges with this, my sister, is that your partner, your husband, does not seem to be very much aware what he needs to do. I'm only assuming that both of you have never had sex before, or is had sex before with somebody else before he became born again and married you. The technique is very important. It helps a woman whether to relax or not. It is a very common thing that a lot of men just want to come and jump on, get the job done, and get out immediately. It is very wrong. You wouldn't even do that. If you want to get a job, you don't jump into the office just busting through the doors. Hello, I need a job. Thank you very much. You've employed me. I've left. No, that is so wrong. They know that you're not here to stay and they wouldn't offer you a job. So I'm going to plead with the men who are watching this and those who will see. Take time. Take time to prepare your woman for the act. Take time to get them ready. You see, the woman wants to enjoy what you're doing to her body, and it's something that she should enjoy. She shouldn't just say, "Come on, all right, do it whenever you're ready. You can get out of here." No, there was something I came across a while ago. It was talking about getting sex right from the beginning till morning, preparing for sex right from the beginning, the early in the morning. So you wake up in the morning, you actually are nice to your wife, not only because you want to have sex, but because that is what you're expected to do. Give her compliments, say lovely things about her. I love your hair. I love the way you smile. I love the way you treat me. I love how you talk to me. Put lovely notes in a bag as she goes out. Leave her a note in the bathroom if you left her at home. Say, darling, I'm really looking forward to tonight. You've been an amazing woman and I'm so happy to have you. Do all those things. Let her think about what you are planning for tonight. Don't just come in from work, just drop your bag, eat your food, and then the next thing you say, babe, what's happening tonight? No, you're not allowed to do that to your woman. You're not allowed to do that. You're supposed to prepare your journey from the morning onwards. So if we have any brothers who's joining us tonight, now you know what to do. And there is no excuse for just jumping in and jumping out. We enjoy it better when you prepare us for the journey. The woman's body takes time to respond to you. So we can prevent such jumping in and jumping out by the woman being ready. And you're the only one who can do the job. Your neighbor can't do it. They shouldn't be doing it. Your friends at work can't help you with this. It doesn't matter how much they love you. You need to do the job yourself. Now, I've spoken about what the woman needs to do. There is help available for both man and wife. If both of you are finding it difficult and you're finding this very distressing, you need some counseling session. There are people who are experts in, sexual counseling, and they can talk to you about relaxation and many other things. Most of the time, the fear that is at the base, at the background, is what affects us a lot. So, this is my final submission regarding this. Things are not as bad as they appear to be. You've only been 6 months in marriage. A lot of women did not really settle in to enjoy sex until they 2 years and even above. Some had their first orgasm at 5 years into the marriage. Some had their first orgasm 10 years into the marriage. I really pray that that's not your portion. But you need to discover each other. And I've put in here that you take time to discover your body. Talk to your husband and say to him, darling, for the next 48 hours, can we make sure that there's no penetration? Just let me find out what suits you, find out what suits me. And once both of you agree, spend time, dedicate time just to discover each other's body. Let them find parts of your body that you did not even know existed. Okay? And when that happens, they know where to touch you. They know where to get you from 0 to 100 within a few seconds. And then things will be a lot easier. Pray about the issue. It is very, very important. A lot of people think that God is not interested, but God is definitely interested about the sex that we have. He wants us to do it properly. He wants us to enjoy it. So can I plead with you that you hold on with your husband and just agree in prayer and say, Lord, teach my husband how to satisfy me. Teach him what to do to me. Teach him how to make me happy. I don't even know my body. Just give him insight one way or the other. And please make sure that you do not address this in a way that will make your husband feel like he's inadequate. Because once that kicks in, it is difficult for you to maintain that confidence. And a lot of men who have problem with erectile dysfunction, which is erectile problem, most of this is psychological. And the more worried they are about it, the worse it gets. So plenty of stimulation, prepare before the flight, check the engine, make sure it has enough fuel, make sure your woman is ready for you before penetration. Otherwise, it makes the experience very difficult. Communication, continue to talk about this, and I'm hopeful that things will get better. Do not hate sex, please. You're probably going to spend the rest of your life doing this. So try and work towards it and enjoy. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to the second scenario. which I probably will be dwelling a bit more on this evening. This scenario is one that in real life I've had to deal with quite a few times. And this is the message that was sent in by the sister. Hello, ma. Hobby has repeatedly made me borrow money for his businesses. He has never been able to provide for any need in the house, though. Most of the times, when I ask him what has happened to the money, he gets upset, saying, "Are you doubting my ability? Why are you questioning me? Should I keep giving him? I don't want to be termed as not submissive, but my husband has never made any returns from the monies borrowed. I am afraid we're running into debt." I felt really sad when I got this message because it is a scenario that is very common and a lot of women are going through this. But at the same time, this is a scenario that I like to take us back to the Bible, and I like to take us back to the book of Genesis. After God created man, God had a look and said to, himself, this man is not doing very well by himself. And God decided to give him a helpmate. A helpmate in this case means a help that is suitable for him. Not every woman is suitable for every man, and not every man is suitable for every woman. So if you married God's plan for you, you've married the person that you complement. And your husband has married a woman who will complement him. So, having said that, God is not the author of confusion, and He knows why He has given you to your husband. Now, God decided that you are the help that is made for your husband. You are the one who will be strong when your husband is weak. He needs you to be strong now because he's clearly very weak when it comes to money management and accountability. A lot of men are sponsored by their wives in businesses and they do really well. A lot of women, I'm aware of a few of my sisters who, sold landed properties and they gave the monies to their husband to do business. Unfortunately, not everybody's case will be like that. And you should never, ever assume that your husband is going to do well in business just because somebody else did well in a particular business. The same way you should never jump into going to take a loan from the bank, which is what this lady has done here. You keep borrowing money, taking loans for your husband's businesses. It is wrong for you to go ahead and do it simply because your husband asks or simply because some other people have done it. So you must have a proof that your husband has been faithful in little things when it comes to money. The story you've told me says that your husband has never really provided for the family. You haven't told us whether he was employed before and he was just spending his money on other things. You haven't given me that information. So I'm only going to assume that one, he was either employed and he wasn't really bringing the money home, or he didn't even have a job. Now, in that case, I'm going to start by saying that if you have children, you owe yourself and your children a future. You cannot get that future by investing today in unprofitable businesses that do not yield return. As harsh and as tough as that may sound, that is the right word to say. The Bible says that a wise man leaves inheritance for his children. The inheritance for your children, that is what you have in your hands right now. The savings in your account, that is what you have in that is your children's future. Because if you took money from the bank, you should be turning it into profitable businesses that will release some money to you, so that in case your salary is not enough, you're having some money that you can put away. But clearly, you're taking money from the bank, you're having to pay back the debt, and there is nothing else coming from it. So you're not being a wise woman by repeatedly going to the bank to loan money to give to your husband who never returns anything. It is very stupid, a behavior and an act. The Bible says in Luke chapter 14, verse 28 to 32. I read the scripture. I read it in a message version. I'm just going to share it with you. It's verse 28 to 30, Luke 14. He says, is there anyone here who, planning to build a new house, doesn't first sit down and figure the cost so you will know if you can complete it? If you only get the foundation laid and then you run out of money, you're going to look pretty foolish. Everyone passing by will poke fun at you. He started something he couldn't finish. That is scripture. Clearly, what has been happening here is that your husband, most of the time, it appears if you have borrowed money more than 2, 3 times and there's nothing to show, he hasn't done his homework. He didn't plan properly. He probably, somebody just approached him or he's found something and he just thought, this will look really good in business. And I think I need to get money from this. And there is money available. My wife can always get money. And then he goes and he borrows the money. So he hasn't made a proper plan. And he's going to be addressed as that particular man in Luke chapter 14, 28 to 32. He hasn't made a proper plan. And because of that, he's going to be seen as a pretty foolish man. The Bible says in Proverbs 22, verse 4, now I'm addressing you, my sister. The Message version says, a prudent woman foresees the difficulties ahead. A prudent man foresees the difficulties ahead and prepares for them. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. I decided to look at the Good News translation. I had a look at it in other translations, and I found the Good News translation quite helpful. That verse 3 says, sensible people will see trouble coming and avoid it, but an unthinking person will walk straight into it and regret it later. By virtue of experience, it appears that there is not enough planning and consideration going on. Otherwise, your husband would have had a return. So, what are the things we need to consider here? You need to consider the consequences of your husband continuing to get you to loan money and not returning it. What is likely to happen? The first thing is you will feel exactly the way you feel. At the moment, you feel bitter. You feel like he's taking advantage of you. Yes, he has. And you should feel bad because you're having to go put your reputation, put your future at stake, put your job at stake, put your income at stake for somebody who's not putting anything back. And the annoying thing is that when you ask him, he tells you that you cannot question him. He behaves as though he knows what he's doing, but we all can see that no, he doesn't really have a grip of what is going on. And anybody who is in that position should not really be given money to handle, most especially when you have to borrow the money. Another consequence is that your family will suffer. So I'm going to say to you, my dear sister, that you please be wise in this. Make sure that your family doesn't suffer. If you continue to loan money at the rate at which you're loaning it and you're not able to pay back, if you have a home, it may be taken away from you. If you have a car, it may be taken away. And it may be that the people you loan the money from will actually take their money right from your income. And that means you and the children in the house will start to suffer. So all of you will suffer as a result of somebody's choice or decision or failure to make the right choices. When you get bitter, you cannot pray and the relationship may break up anyway. So if your husband is threatening to leave you, is threatening to walk out, is threatening to marry another wife just because you refuse to borrow more money, don't worry. Don't feel threatened about that. Just do the right thing prayerfully. And that right thing is to say, I'm so sorry, my darling. You know I love you. You know I honor you. I've tried the best that I can within the human capability, but I don't think I can do this anymore. I am not able to borrow any more money. If he's going to walk away, he's going to walk away, but you have your integrity and you have the roof over your head. It's better than you trying by every means to try and please him. And at the end of the day, you're so bitter and angry that you walk out of the marriage anyway. So the action you need to take, number one, you need to stop now. No more borrowing money to give to your husband if he is not accountable. It is not wise as a woman to do that. The Bible says that a wise woman builds her own home. It's got nothing to do with what people are saying to you. You're submissive or you're not submissive. Any person that tells you that you're not submissive should please bring their own money and give to your husband to do business. You have done what you can do as a wife. If you're loaning money, you're borrowing your husband money, you're borrowing money from the bank, you're borrowing money from people, from family, your parents, and your husband is refusing to give an account what he has done with the money. He's not bringing anything back in. He's even questioning why you're questioning him. You should stop loaning money on his behalf. It is wrong for you to do that. and is bordering on stupidity as a woman. You're putting your life and the life of the children at stake. Remove sentiments. I want to run that down again. Remove sentiments. Don't let him tell you that you don't love him. That's the reason why you're not submissive. You're not supposed to be submissive when somebody is leading you straight to hell. Because at the end of the day, when you live in unforgiveness, when you live in bitterness, you have a straight passport to hell anyway. So don't let him put you through this. Gently, firmly, respectfully, honorably say no, sir. Talk. It looks like this man is not keen to talk. It looks like he doesn't want to talk. Find out what his strengths are. The fact that somebody has been successful in a business does not mean that is his strength. Your husband may have the energy to do work, but not have the wisdom to plan it. Your husband may have the ability, he may have the thoughts and the ideas, but not have the energy to carry it out. Let him and you decide what his strengths are, and then you can channel it. It may be that he needs somebody else in the business to support him to bring in something that he doesn't have so that the business can work. Support him, as I said. You don't have to give money to support. You can support prayerfully. You can sit down with him. You can map out plan. A lot of the men who have this kind of problem don't even want you to be involved at all. They tell you, who do you think you are? You're just a woman. You've only done this. But that's all right. If he says that you're a stupid woman and you don't understand what it has to do with money, then you should be stupid enough to hold on to the money and not take any loans from the bank. Don't put your life at risk. Discuss alternatives. Maybe your husband keeps taking money and he keeps turning it into a particular business, and this business is not yielding anything. Discuss alternatives. What are the options he has? It may be that he keeps trying to set out on his own. Maybe he's not able to set out on his own. Maybe he needs a partner. Maybe he needs, the business location is wrong, and because of that, he doesn't have any returns. There are many things that can affect a man's success in this regard, the same way it can affect a woman. But look at the alternatives and think about things that can help. Consider professional help. A lot of us don't like to talk to professionals when it comes to money and money management. We believe that because we've been to school, we know everything. That's not right. There are so many courses that are available about how to make money. There are so many things that you can use to verify whether these things are real. If you're on Facebook, for instance, which most of the people watching these are on, you see a lot of things. People tell you this is what is selling, this is what is going, this is, you just keep following everything and putting money in everything, and there's nothing to show. That's not right. As a woman of God, you need to know where to turn your money, and the same thing should apply to your husband. Spiritual help. Some men actually have spiritual problem and they just cannot make success out of anything they do. This is where your help comes in as a wife. Remember what I said earlier on, you're a helpmate, you're a help that is suitable for your husband. Prayerfully support him. Ask that the Lord will open your eyes, ask that the Lord will open his eyes as to things that need to change. You don't need to give him money to pray for him. You can just call him and say, darling, things are not working. Can we wait upon the Lord? Can we hear instruction? Maybe he's supposed to be selling bricks and he's selling water. Simple things like that. And the Lord will direct your heart if you do it genuinely and with purity of heart. If you're upset, if you're angry with him, you're not likely to be able to hear from God. Bottom line is, and this is my conclusion, you're there to help your husband. Most men who do this do not consider that it may break their home. A lot of husbands who are asking for money repeatedly without giving anything back, they didn't actually think that this would break their home. A lot of them actually are just putting in so much effort because they want it to work. They want to be able to generate money. They want their family to be comfortable. That's just their innocent desire. But it doesn't stop the fact that they're putting you through so much stress. So they're not getting good results in spite of their effort. Work with them to find a lasting solution before you commit any more monies to them. There are proofs by which you can see, for instance, if somebody has asked for £1,000, you tell him at the moment it is £600 that is available. Can we see what we can do with this? If he tells you no, he's not going anywhere without £1,000, then you know. Maybe indeed he cannot go anywhere because that will not cover his needs, but maybe he just has other needs for the money. So you need to have your ears on ground. You need to be alert as a woman. You need to see what is happening in your surrounding. Also, pray for him and respect him whilst you're waiting for a turnaround. Many of my sisters would have had experience in this regard. If there's anything you want to share, as I always say, feel free to send me a message on the contact us or the message me button on the Frank Talk with Omob. I hope we've learned something on this tonight. In the next few days, I'm going to be bringing some other questions that our sisters have sent in. Nobody has 100% of the knowledge. We only try to lead you with understanding of the scriptures and what God, by His Spirit, has put in our heart. Don't go through life all alone. There are so many things that women are going through. The Bible says there is nothing that has happened to you that is not common to man, and God has made a way of escape. There is help available. If you want to ask me any questions, you can either send me a message via the message button on Frank Talk with Omob, or you can drop me an email on askdrjeffreys@gmail.com, which is askdrjeffreys@gmail.com. I hope you've learned something tonight, and I hope to catch up with you soon. Have a good night. God bless you, and thank you for joining in.